AI has advanced what the capabilities of what we can do. So there is features of identify, hey, was that customer damage or not? Picture recognition of data plates, hour meters, those things. Like in our product today, we're already helping the technician rewrite their stories. Like, here's what you said, but I think you meant to say this. So we're already introduced AI into our products, not only the tech side, but the back office side as well. It's going to change the world for the technician where they can concentrate on what they do best. But at the end of the day, it's service to us. Our company's 100% concentrated on service for our customers.
Welcome to Load It or Leave It with your host, Camp Jennings, presented by Henry North. We're diving into the world of material handling and industrial automation, the people, the products, and the ideas shaping what's next. Expect honest takes, smart insights, and real conversations with the folks who make this industry move. This is Load It or Leave It.
Hello, welcome back to the Load It or Leave It podcast. Today we've got Dave Tinnerman. Dave is the CEO and founder of Tinnacity. Dave is a great guy. He spent most of his career with the Crown Equipment Corporation, doing big things for those guys from a technology standpoint. But about 10 or 15 years ago, Dave took the entrepreneurial leap of faith to go and start Tinnacity. Tinnacity is a software and application that helps service teams within the material handling organization kind of modernize their approach to market. It's a really strong product, really well respected in our space. But it's fun today to hear Dave talk about that leap of faith that he took, right? Did he regret it? How did it feel leaving the corporate world and the success that he has had since then? So I hope you guys enjoy listening to a well-known, well-respected fella in our space. All right, Dave, so happy to have you on today, man. Excited to chat for a bit. As you know, here on the Load It or Leave It podcast, we start each of our episodes with a fun entrepreneurial question. So this will be really applicable to an entrepreneur. And Dave, if you were going to go start a business today in our industry, of course, you've already done that once, but if you were going to do it again, what would Dave take a swing at this go around?
Well, that's a great question. I thought about that one a little bit, and I wouldn't do much different than what I'm doing today. I just really like the people, so I really would want to stay into this industry. And I would probably get back more into the consulting avenue gig with the change in technology and AI. I think it's going to move so fast, probably faster than most people in this industry can comprehend or understand. So I would probably get involved into helping and assisting these people in the industrial heavy equipment or material handling industry on like just navigating these waters. So that's what I would probably do. I just like this business too much to leave it.
It's a hidden gem of an industry, and it's wild, man. We are getting more and more requests for that type of support. It's like, hey guys, I don't think I need some full-time employee to help me with AI or to help me, build this automation division of my business or this or that, or, implement appropriate tech stack from a sales enablement standpoint. But I do need someone to step in from kind of a consultant standpoint and help me. Scott, you know what I mean? Like, it feels like left and right, we're getting hit with that.
Yeah, I think our industry has historically been known to be laggards when it comes to technology adoption. And Dave, I think your business probably speaks to that even more, that we can dive into later. But I think we're in a new evolution of a change in technology, maybe even a change in guard when it comes to leadership and ownership in this space. So yeah, I definitely agree with that for sure.
No doubt. Well, Dave, as referenced, excited to have you here. Of course, Dave Tinnerman, the CEO and founder of Tinnacity, a company that most of us in this space know and certainly respect. They've been doing good things for a while. But Dave, we'll get into who Tinnacity is and what you guys do, what problems you solve. But man, tell us about you first. Tell us about your background, your journey, if you will.
Well, I grew up in a small town in Western Ohio on a farm. That's where it all began. Just kind of introduced into computers in latter years of my high school career. I was like, wow, this is kind of cool. I've never seen anything like that. When the first green screen Mac, or it wasn't even a Mac then, it was an Apple computer. My first programming was involved working on a Radio Shack where the keyboard was attached to the physical monitor. And I think I programmed a tic-tac-toe. And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And so no one had really talked about it. So that's where I got introduced to computers. And then lo and behold, I went to Wright State University in Dayton, Ohio to study computer science and graduated from there with a computer science degree. And just, okay, what do I want to do here? And I knew I wanted to go back to my roots. So lo and behold, I found a job at Crown Equipment Corporation. And I was like, wow, a forklift company that has computer people working, writing software. So that's where I got started, and then really got started and got to know the people in the industry. So it was small town, big corporation. And then I was very fortunate at that time to get involved in special projects where I got to meet the individual independent dealerships that were servicing, selling Crown forklifts at that time. And that's where I got to know the people and just kind of got evolved into, I could do something cool with computers and still work with great people. So that's where it kind of all started in my experience from material handling and computers. So
I love it, man. Good stuff. Good stuff. And obviously took quite the entrepreneurial leap at some point after your stint with Crown. But I love what you said, Dave, about like, oh shit, you mean that like there's some technology involved with a good old forklift company? That sentiment and message is so spot on. I tell candidates that all the time because we're trying to pick people off from med device or, pharmaceutical sales or this or that, polished folks out there doing big things in the sales world. And when we first talk about this industry, it's easy to scoff at, right? It's like, good old forklift companies, nah. But there's so much there, man. There's a lot more behind the curtains, and it sounds like you agree.
absolutely, there is. There's a lot involved. There's so many electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, and then it's just evolved. I was kind of more on the leading edge of that, but there were where computers now became part of the units themselves. So it's just wow. It just kind of blew my mind that I could be involved in doing something I like, stay local, and then really kind of help evolve a company and be a part of some of the special projects that they wanted to start and initiate within the company.
For some of those people who kind of don't know your story and where it started, I know it was the Beige Forklift Company with you being Ohio born and raised, but what were some of those special projects that you were kind of working on early in your career at Crown?
So I was very fortunate to be involved and approached by some leadership at Crown. And one of the first projects I was involved was they called it centralized invoicing. That was one of the pieces where they used to submit invoicing between different companies called EDI, electronic data interchange. And that's how it was behind the scenes, blue screen, black screen, whatever. And it's just data going back and forth. And then the World Wide Web was kind of introduced. And I was like, well, why don't we just have partners submit their invoices through here? And it kind of evolved. It became this whole partner intranet and then centralized invoicing and what most people call now Crown Fleet Stats, where it's all the invoices are centralized and through some validations and whatnot. So that was a very cool project. And then I got to go into their Insight program and be a part of a team, a really small team that created Crown's Infolink system, which is a telematic device that was actually bolted on to the existing forklifts and now is not only bolted on to Crown or other OEM products, but also embedded in a lot of their new products today. So it's telematic. Where's that equipment located? Is it triggering impact events? Is it OSHA checklist where the operator has to complete and inspect the vehicle before they can operate? So those were some of the cool projects I was involved in.
Love it. Love it. Scott, as Dave was talking, I was thinking, go ahead and make Dave and I feel really old. Dude, how old were you when the internet came? Or how old were you at 2000? How about that? When 2000 came along?
Let's see.
No, Dave, you don't have to answer. Just Scott.
Okay, thank you.
No,
You're making me look old.
me and you are old, Dave. I want to hear Scott's answer. He was probably not born.
I was sitting here talking about what is a Radio Shack, but no, all jokes aside, I think when was that like 1999, 2000 type of thing, or
Yeah, I mean, I remember when the web came out when I was probably junior in college. So that would have been like 97, but that was just black screen. There was no web interface or internet browser per se. It was more called a web crawler, and where you would input it some information and it would crawl out It was just connecting different computers, right? And that's where it all started. Like, I need information on how to do a calculus problem, and would go out and do it and come back. And it was very, very rough at that time, but it was cool. And you had to dial up, right? You had to connect. You had to connect through a dial up through your modem through the phone line.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that shows you my age.
No, I love it. Scott, just tell us, dude, what were you in the year 2002?
Yeah, 3 years old. For sure.
Okay. Yeah, that checks out. Must be nice. Cool story, Dave. Obviously, you killed it. You did big things with those guys at Crown. Talk to us about Tinnacity, man. When did you start it? Who were you guys? What are you doing now?
Well, Tinnacity is a premier software and solution provider for the material handling and industrial equipment industry. If I had to really boil it up, you think about mobile app for service technicians is really what it starts out to be, but it's much more than that now. It's a premier service solution, as I mentioned, where we provide a complete, comprehensive service to the independent dealerships. It doesn't have to be independent, but people that are out there servicing forklifts, servicing bulldozers, and all sorts of construction and ag equipment, whatever it might be. In the day when I started, it was really people were keeping track of everything on paper. The labor, their travel, here's the parts, here's what I did to fix that unit, what the customer complaint was, and so forth. We digitized that, and then we put it on steroids. And where we took all that information, and that's great, but it was separated. And so we thought, well, you know what? We have to bring that in. And there's key components that we had to bring in to mash it up, give dashboards, KPIs, provide workflows for the service staff. But we also have to get it into the company's DMS or ERP, which is really just their back office business system that tracks their equipment and their assets and their parts. And so they can do invoicing correctly. So at the end of the day, it started out as a mobile app involved into this complete comprehensive solution that really, at the end of the day, it's service to us. Our company's 100% concentrated on service for our customers.
Fascinating, man. Fascinating. So service technician, or a forklift group rather, maybe they're still pen and paper for work orders for all of the above. Tinnacity steps in, makes all of that onto a digital platform, an app that allows for all of that to happen digitally. Am I barking up the right tree there?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a good sign. A lot of our prospects and customers today are mobile or have been mobile, quote unquote mobile, but there still are a few that are still on paper today because it's not broke. They don't want to leave it, right? There's no reason to fix it, but they're starting to come to fruition or see the truth that it was like, hey, I need to step into the 2020s here.
Yeah. What's the future in that world, Dave? Like the next 10, 20 years, do you have a technician, submitting a picture of a broken forklift and then AI tells it exactly how to fix it? Or where's this thing headed?
In some sense, it's already there. AI has advanced what the capabilities of what we can do. So there is features of identify, hey, was that customer damage or not? Picture recognition of data plates, hour meters, those things. Like in our product today, we're already helping the technician rewrite their stories. Like, here's what you said, but I think you meant to say this. So we're already introduced AI into our products, not only the tech side, but the back office side as well. But it's going to change the world for the technician where they can concentrate on what they do best, and that's fix the equipment, wrenching, and not sitting there have to tell a story and all these things, and let them fix that unit faster. So there's a myriad of opportunities out there, and it's coming.
Yeah. Dave, a lot of people, especially like my friends and family, like all have kind of a little bit of that entrepreneurial spirit, but very few people like can ever get into the position that you're in today, like, and go and find the challenge or find that product market niche, right? The thing that you want to go tackle and solve. When was kind of that aha moment where it's like, this is what I want to spend the next 10 years doing?
Well, for me, it came from when someone kind of gave me a little shove. I didn't know that this is what I wanted to do. I was very comfortable. I was very successful at Crown. And then life happened. And life happened, meaning my wife I introduced to her and she was traveling. And then what happened was I felt like, hey, I wanted to change the venue and whatnot. And then at that time, my boss at that time at Crown said, hey, I really think you could do this on your own. And that was really just being a consultant. I'm like, I could do that. I like helping people. I jumped into that and it kind of evolved. But the aha moment when I realized like, consultancy is great, but is that really what I want to do? It was when I was consulting with an independent dealer and they had asked me, hey, can you help us find a product, a mobile service product? And yeah, I can help you do that. And then through doing that, I was like, none of these offerings out there get it. They don't get the material handling industry. They didn't get it. And the amount of paper that I saw are these dealerships pushing. And when I would talk to them, they're like, I just said, can I solve this problem for you? And then they believed in me. So that was the aha moment for me. It was like, okay, I can do it. And then I could go back to my roots of, oh, I can sit down at the computer again and program. So I can help people's problem. I can build something better than I get it. And then I could do the best of both worlds. I could be my computer science geek, and then I could stay in the material handling world and I could solve people's problems. So it kind of scratched all three itches for me. And that was, okay, let's go do this. And it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. And it was tough. If it was easy, everybody do it, as you guys know, right? And it's not. So that was kind of my aha moment. And then really having two dealerships, just kind of like, we believe in you, right? And we're willing to back you on this. And so I was like, okay.
Yeah, I was about to ask, like, did you feel ready, right? Or was it like, let's just rock and roll. Let's just jump in.
I don't know that I felt quite ready. I have to give the kudos to my partner who's brilliant, who gave me the confidence because what he does and I had him as my support system. And so it was extremely tough. And I was kind of like, I had to learn everything on the own. I felt like I was coming out of college again. This is a blank slate here. I draw it up right. I knew nothing about creating a mobile app, zero. But I understood business analysis. I understood problem solving, and I could code from a back office standpoint, databases and all that stuff. And so, but he knew a little bit. And he's like, well, hey, I can help you. Here you go. And there. And so he was that backbone and support for that. And we evolved over time.
That's impressive, man. Impressive. Did you look up at any point in those first couple of years and think, well, damn, this might not work? Or was it a pretty steady climb?
No, it was when I pivoted from a consultancy, decided I'm going to do this. That was back in 2017 and moving along fine. It took about 2 to 2.5 years before I even mentioned to selling it to anybody. So I mentioned in the previous, I had two dealerships that backed us and believed in us. And at that time, I was in a little 10x10 office in Dublin, Ohio. I was working 70 to 80 hours a week, easily 7 days a week. So never home, start in the morning until 11:30 at night, go home, get some sleep. But yeah, I remember being there. I think it was 11:30. I can remember the day at night at that office, and I had an issue and I just couldn't solve it. And I just like, this is it. I have failed. And I have to give credit. Like I said, my partner, he gives me a call at that time. He goes, hey, I think I solved it. And then we hashed it out together. I was like, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. And that was a turning point. It was just like, we had each other and we solved that problem. And then I was like, man, if I can get over this one, I can get over numerous things, whatever comes at me. So no, it was not always easy. For 2 years, there was a lot of troubling times, but that moment was the make or break situation in my company. And we made it.
Scott's the half of this duo that's fixing our problems. So Scott, just keep it up, brother. Just keep solving our problems and we'll be okay.
Dude, it's cool to hear the story though. Like 2 years of building and grinding while almost trying to like Band-Aid or duct tape the systems. Cause like that's 2 years of serving a customer, right? And like pushing the business forward at the same time.
Yeah. Well, they didn't have anything back then. They were paper and they were looking for solutions. So I brought them in to help build the product. So I was on the road with their service techs in their dispatch, service managers, parts rooms, so they were involved in building the product and they had a voice. And I had done other projects for them that helped them out quite a bit. So they believed. It was just enough belief, enough long, and we just slowly incremented. I go back and look and see what the original product that we did. I was like, oh my gosh, no one would buy that product today. But they didn't have anything, and it was way better than what they had. So yeah, that was crazy do that for 2 years. Yeah, it was unbelievable.
That's really cool. There's always arguments or conversation, good conversation on the entrepreneurial side of things of like, when do you go out and ship the product? Do you kind of find the demand first and then create something to kind of build to it? I'm curious to ask you, like coming from someone who's been on the sales side or the go-to-market side my whole career, and maybe your background is more associated with like the engineering, technical builder type. Do you kind of see it like build it and the demand will come, or do you have to create the demand, being that marketer, and then build to meet it?
I think I did it opposite of what most software companies do today. They'll usually have an idea and then they'll go out and bring in equity or capital to help build it, right? And then market it. I think I felt when the recognition doing the process, and things happen for a reason. Me being a consultant first and then looking at what was there, I realized like there was a need and I felt that I could do that. But I was not going to go out there and give a product that was going to fail. I was not going to bring something to market unless it was fully vetted. And I'm not a guy that's like, here's promises that I can't keep. So I wanted to come out to a market that was proven, was robust, and that provided real value. And that's why I could have probably went out into 2017, 2018 and started selling it. Some companies get in that problem where then, that's why you hear folks talk maybe down about the company. Yeah, they've been promising that for years and I didn't want to be that. I want to be like, wow, this is really good. It's better than anything we ever had. So started the opposite, invested in myself before I went out. So I don't know if that kind of gives you the story.
No, it does. And that approach works, especially when you've been in an industry for a while and then, take that leap planning to serve that very industry, right? Like our stories have similarity in that way, and that there's a bit of a softer landing spot, right? When you take that entrepreneurial leap, but you're going to stay in that same little bubble that you had been a part of for a decade plus. And, looking back, I wish someone would have told me that in my early 20s. Like there's a whole argument to be made that is a really strong entrepreneurial path to go sink your teeth into an industry, climbing the ranks for 10, 15 years, aggressively build network, whether that's in the finance world or for us forklift world or whatever. And then at 30, 35, 40, go and take that entrepreneurial leap, leveraging the network and trust and industry kind of understanding that you've built over that decade and a half. I don't know. There's a lot to it. I think that's honestly probably we've got a long way to go before I say that we've made it, but we've had a good start. And Scott, what do you think? I mean, 90% of the reason that that's been the case has been our industry.
Yeah, completely agree. And Dave, when I originally heard your story through a mutual friend of ours, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is incredible. I wish somebody told me or tapped me on the shoulder and kind of showed this type of path. Because when you specialize in an industry or a topic or vertical within that industry for so long, like you innately know how it works on the customer facing side and the internal side. So you can kind of pinpoint these pains that these end users or dealers are experiencing. And seems like Tinnacity kind of hit the nail on the head there too.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, you guys have said keywords, trust and network. I'm glad I did it the way I did it because it built the trust in those two initial clients and then the next one. And then in this industry, they all talk to each other and they're going to trust in whatever somebody else says is good. And so instead of going big bang, kind of like slow and steady, wins the race is kind of the approach. But in this industry, man, they talk, their trust. You're not going to hide something from one to the other. So, and I like that. I like to be open, transparent, very candid with everybody. So definitely resonates what you've just said. Yes.
Yeah. One thing we hear all the time is like, man, you speak our language. We've never had a partner or a vendor who can really go there with us. Is that a theme that y'all see too?
Oh yeah. Absolutely. With my company today, with all the individuals, we got over 150 years experience just in this industry, and that's with some rookies. So that tells you we have some very seasoned veterans. But yeah, we can talk the talk and we walk the walk. It's a nice attribute to go right into that first discovery meeting with a prospect, and you're talking, and they're talking about load wheels, and next thing I'm talking about mast height. They're like, okay, you've earned their trust right off the bat.
For sure, for sure. You get to the point where you're speaking and referencing their pain before they do, and you see them just nodding their head as you're talking about, like, and I'm sure you're faced with this and this, and that goes for any of our sales listeners today. Like, that's where you're trying to get, right? Like, even if you're chasing the end users at the industrial level, like, get to the point where you can master that. You're so in tune with the trends of what they're faced with and the expectations on their shoulders that you sit down with them and it feels like you're just kind of hamming it up. But in reality, you're playing this game where you're speaking to, exactly where their pain is and their struggles are. Man, it's just that's when you're in your sweet spot, right? And you're in a good spot to truly serve them, right? It's fun.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, when you can go in there and say, "Let me ask you this, because X has happened, T is the result," and they look at you. I'm like, "Yeah, I know, I understand, and here's why." And then you got them. At least you got their attention. I always tell everybody is like, bring me in. I want to give you my story. It's not necessarily my story, but what our product and what we can do for you and the pains that we can resolve. And if at the end of the day, if that doesn't really work for you right now, at least you're informed. You know what we're doing. And when that day comes, we want to be there to be your partner, you know?
That's it. That's it. Well, Dave, one more for you before we get into a few kind of fun segments. What is something that you miss about working, not necessarily at Crown, but just in the corporate world, right? You've obviously into the world of entrepreneurship now, but there's some beauty being a corporate man. What's one of those things?
Number one for me was the people. I really got connected to the great amount of people, got to work with a lot of great people and great opportunities. So to some innovative things. So I really, the community of the corporation, that was really good for me, and some of the perspective opportunities. Working for a big corporation that's fairly solid and stuff. When I early on, it was security for me. I really didn't know. I just wanted security. That was nice. So, but the community, the people, and security, those are things that are nice about working in a larger corporation, and the opportunities that are thrown at you.
Scott, how true does that ring? Like Scott and I talk about it a lot of things we miss, and there's a lot of things, but one of them was like boozy dinners with 10 or 15 guys that you really respect and work with, right? And like, not that you can't go do that as an entrepreneur, but you're kind of forced to do it all the time in that corporate setting. And I think my liver is thankful that we've graduated beyond that, but it was so fun. And yeah, I don't know.
Oh yeah, we've all done that. Yeah, and then travel. That was one of the things I got to do, travel the world and got to see a lot of different people, places, just some great opportunities that you may not get to do yet. Hopefully,
Yeah.
more down the road. But
Yeah, the liver is healthier than ever. But no, funny enough, I actually had one of my mentors. He was a serial entrepreneur, and as I was kind of climbing the ranks through the corporate ladder, he'd always tell me, he's like, Scott, don't underestimate the power of clocking in and clocking out, and just getting a strong W-2 at the end of the year. And like the stability and the mindset and the lifestyle that you can create through building what he would call an entrepreneurship style career, where you go and make money for the man, but then you kind of leverage some of the extra finances at the end of the day to kind of play around with unique and creative things in the market. But I'll tell you what, I love the entrepreneurship business game. And the more and more I get into it, the more I realize I wish I'd have gotten into it a little bit sooner.
oh yeah,
It's fun. It's fun. Dave, a few rapid fire questions for you here, kind of outside of work, to be honest, just to have some fun. I'll jump right in, man. The first one is, Dave, what is a recent purchase that you've made the past year or two under $1,000? So no Ferraris here, but something random, potentially even simple, that has really, I don't know, improved your life. Something that you're like, oh my gosh, this little thing has been a dream.
one of the things that I would say is I purchased a green egg.
Yeah.
And the reason, it's not that I don't cook a lot. Moving down here to Florida, so I was talking about, like, oh, should I get a gas grill? I've always had a gas grill, and I have a electric smoker. And one of my friends said, "Hey, are you in a hurry to barbecue?" down to Florida's like, no, it's about entertaining. He goes, I suggested green egg. And so it's become fun. Now I am looking at recipes and how to smoke this and cook pizzas and, and it's great to entertain. And you can gather, I get to spend time with my wife or my kids outside and, you're kind of bantering back and forth while you're doing it and have a good time. So that's been a lot of fun for me.
Let's go. Good answer. Scott, what about you, dude? Scott buys everything known to man. He's going to say some $27,000 Sea-Doo that he bought, but
Camp, I thought you were about to say I hadn't made an expense less than $1,000 lately, so I won't have a good answer. Dave, I'm unfortunately, I'm one of those guys that if I go to the boot store, I start on the wrong end of the aisle. So it's an issue that I'm kind of working through. But I'll tell you what, this is a good one. It was a little Amazon find recently. It was one of those outlets that have a built-in iPhone charger so that my fiance or nobody can kind of come by and steal my phone charger. It's like built into the outlet. It's an absolute time saver.
Oh, that's nice.
Love it. Love it. I did a post about mine recently, but it's these tennis shoes I bought. They're called Mount to Coast. Go to your nearby running store, and I'm the furthest thing from a runner. So you should have seen my ass walking into that store. He was wanting to size my foot. And I'm like, dude, I'm just walking to work. He got a chuckle out of that, but they're real deal running shoes, but they are the most crazy comfortable. I don't know that they look good, but who cares at this point in life? They're pretty incredible. So Mount to Coast running shoes for me. Another one here for you, Dave. What is something, man, that you're trying to get better at right now? That could be personally or professionally, honestly.
Well, yeah, personally, I'd like to get better in golf, and honestly, another personal is I'm getting better at reading. I'm trying to read more. I used to hate to read because everything was technical. And if it wasn't about sports, I didn't want to read it. So I'm trying to get better at reading and those things. But professionally, man, it's all, I'm learning AI as much as I can, consuming it. So
yeah, that's a good answer. Scott's our AI guy. So Scott, I'm going to leave that on you. For me, I'm trying to learn to be more positive. Like Scott's glass half full. I'm always glass half empty. And I hate that about myself. And I think some of the best leaders I've ever worked with are just innately positive and they see things positively, even when the situations don't really call for that positivity. And I don't know that I'm ever going to go fully in that direction. There is some value in being a bit innately skeptical, but I want to be more positive and optimistic, I suppose. So that's mine. Scott, how about you, brother?
It's a good one. I think you challenged with me with this, or maybe you shared that you had did this for one of your first of the year kind of goals or things to keep in mind. But it was a mindset of generosity and gratefulness. So I think that's something that I got on my whiteboard over here that I look at every day.
So, Dave, if you've listened to some of our podcast, we give our guests the opportunity to highlight a cause, charity, a initiative, a program that they are passionate about and potentially involved with. I feel like this industry is flooded with just good human beings. I really believe that. It's part of why I love it. And I think we're all doing our own things to try to help give back and make an impact. But I also think there's opportunity for all of us to collectively do more. So, yeah, I think it's cool to hear people kind of highlight different things that they're aware of. So I'll turn it over to you, man. Is there anything that jumps out to you that you'd like to share?
No, great. I like what you guys just said there, the generosity stuff. So, I'm definitely within the last year or two trying to give back more into several areas. One of the charities that I personally have gotten more involved in is called the Ride for Hope. And that's really about mental health awareness and suicide prevention. So a friend of ours started this back in 2020, back when the COVID stage happened, and the reason to get out of the house and still build a community was still having that distance. And they started writing, and it turned into, well, we can write and make this for a cause. And I think mental health, I see it more and more. I see it within whether it's friends or family. It's something that is real out there and a struggle. So if we can help bring awareness and give people in the help that they need, and prevent, unfortunately, there's suicide happens quite frequently today. I'm all about that. So my wife and I definitely help a lot of organizations from cancer raising stuff, but that's one of them that's true to us.
That's a good one, man. We've gotten similar answers a few times, and it's for good reason, right? There's definitely a trend in our country around some of those struggles. And yeah, I'm with you. So no, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Dave, we will wrap into our last segment of the day, our load it or leave it. So what we'll do, man, is we're going to throw 4 or 5 just random, I don't know, phrases or things at you. Most of them will be kind of rooted in entrepreneurship. You will either say, I load it, meaning I agree with it. That's for me. I'm with you. I'm buying that thing. Or you'll say, I leave it. And a quick explanation as to why, meaning like, no, it's not for me. Like I disagree with whatever that thing or phrase is. So you ready to rock and roll?
Let's do it.
All right, sweet. Scott, I hope you got some good ones. Here's a couple for me. Dave, load it or leave it. It's easier to make money working for someone else than for yourself.
Leave it. I love working for myself, and I think you motivate yourself when that's on the line. I think I'm my own boss, and that's the reason I like it. But leave it.
Well, it's good. I was probably expecting a load it, right? Of like, no, like the easier path is, staying with the corporate race. But I see what you mean. And it's like, well, you want some motivation? Like there is no other option when you're on your own. So I appreciate that answer.
Yeah, you want to put food on the table. There is no other, like now that you've been at just similar to you guys, right? It's like, I don't see myself ever going back to that. I just like, no, I want to work for myself.
That's cool. Scott, what you got?
Ooh, here, let's go with this one. Load it or leave it, asking for referrals.
Do you mean asking some of my clients for them to be a referral?
That's right. The client referral process is always a weird one to walk, at least in my opinion, but load it or leave it.
I'll say load it because our clients are our best salespeople. And if I can't be referred by my clients, then I probably have done something wrong. Now, I will say that caveat is you don't want to lean on the same people all the time. So, but they respect their time. Everybody's time is important. So, but I say load it.
I love it. It's a good one. Dave, load it or leave it. If you're a top performer, you're better off on your own.
I'll leave it. I think everybody needs a community. I like to think of myself back in the day. I was a top performer and I kind of went on my own, but I recognized that I needed a community. I needed help and assistance, and a family I think is stronger together. That you'll hear us refer to everybody in whether they are employees of Tinnacity or other individuals as customers or partners. We always refer to them as family because it is the family helps each other. So there are people like that, but I say leave it.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Well, fun stuff, Dave. One last question, not a load it or leave it, just a fun one. I watched a short video clip of this question the other day. It's pretty simple, so I'll let it rip. Dave, what is the best advice you've ever heard or received? And take your time thinking through that one. I know it's kind of deep.
The best advice I ever heard or received. Wow, that's a good. I probably forgot more than I remember. I can't say it verbatim, but most of it is I'm a big firm believer in karma, or you get what you put into it, and that's kind of what's instilled into me early on from my parents. So I think it really stems early on, I remember my father saying, like, well, you started it, you finish it. And that's kind of instilled in me and my family today, and always. So I've kind of started it and I need to finish it. And what does finish mean? So that's kind of one of the things, I remember like penny saved is penny earned. My grandfather used to preach that to me. I remember being on a rooftop, re-roofing my parents' house there, and a nail, it fell, and I just left it. He goes, go down and get that. I'm like, why? He goes, penny saved is penny earned, because they had to work hard for every dollar that they ever did. So I try to keep that in mind, but it's pretty vague, but they're pretty true to what I feel today is like you really put into what you believe and you're going to get out of what you put in, So we try to do that. Or I try to do that every day.
No, it's good. Scott, did you hear that? That might have been the best advice Scott's ever heard in his life. A penny saved is a penny earned.
That's fun. There's every time we talk about the advice piece, I always love it. There's always a little bit of like relevance or like recency bias to good advice. The things that kind of hit at the moment or the time. I read a book called The Power of One More by Ed Milet. just talking about how, there's so many things in life that can be so big or daunting. It's like almost climbing Mount Everest, like just one step at a time. And it's like do one more at the end of the day, whether it's a phone call, a rep at the gym, or a practice golf swing at the course that I also need to be doing. But yeah, that's the one that's been on my board lately too.
That's a good one. Well, guys, let's wrap up. Dave, have enjoyed our chat. Obviously, for all of our listeners, check out Tinnacity. They're doing great things. They're helping modernize processes within the material handling industry. You can hear today that Dave and his team are strong, good people doing some big things out there. So, Dave, if anyone has listened and wants to hit you guys up, either just to talk more to you or learn more about your product and offering, where should they go?
Yeah, just come to www.tinnacity.com. There's a contact us form out there. You go to the YouTube. There's lots of videos out there today. My marketing gal, Katie from Kentucky, who's joined us the last few months, she's got you can check out all of her Tinnacity Talks, similar podcasts out there on YouTube and Spotify and what have you. But yeah, reach out to us on the web or see us on social media for sure. Copy it out.
Let's go. You guys got a legend. Katie from Kentucky is a living legend in our industry in the best of ways. So excited to have seen her join you guys' team. And Scott, thanks for being here, man. Anything from your end before we wrap?
No, absolute pleasure having you on the podcast. Hopefully we'll see you at the next Mojito convention too. Hang out.
Yep, I'll be there. I'm happy to see you guys.
That's awesome.
And I appreciate the time, Scott, Camp. Appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you, fellas. Take care, Dave.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Load It or Leave It with your host, Camp Jennings, presented by Henry North. To connect with Camp, find him on LinkedIn. Whether you're looking to build out your team or navigate your own career, trust that Henry North can help.